What would you do if you were given the chance to shape an entire nation's future? Would you take the risk, or would you walk away? This is the story of a man who didn't walk away. A man whose pen could start revolutions, and whose ideas could outlive centuries. He was a farmer, a writer, an inventor, and the man who would become the third president of the United States? Thomas Jefferson. Born on April 13, 1743, in the rolling hills of Virginia, Jefferson's childhood was far from ordinary. He was the third of 10 children, and from an early age, was different. Quiet, thoughtful, with a hunger for books that seemed endless. By the age of 9, while most children were playing in the fields, he was already studying Latin, Greek, and French. The loss of his father, when Jefferson was just 14, left a deep mark on him. It also meant responsibility. He inherited thousands of acres of land and dozens of enslaved people. A reality of colonial America. One that would remain a complex shadow over his legacy. But instead of letting grief consume him, Jefferson turned to knowledge. Education became his weapon, and he was determined to use it. He attended the College of William and Mary, where his professors described him as a man who read for breakfast. Mathematics, philosophy, law, science, there was no subject he would not devour. But Jefferson wasn't just a student of facts. He was a dreamer. He imagined a country where people were free to think, speak, and live without a king's command. It was during these years that he began to develop a vision of America not as a colony, but as a nation of its own. By the time the American colonies began pushing back against British rule, Jefferson had already built a reputation as a skilled writer and a man of ideas. In 1776, when the Second Continental Congress gathered to declare independence, they chose him, a 33-year-old Virginian, to draft the most important document in American history, the Declaration of Independence. In a quiet room, with only a quill, paper, and his thoughts, Jefferson wrote the words that would define a nation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Those words would ignite a revolution, inspire generations, and echo far beyond America's borders. After independence was declared, Jefferson became the governor of Virginia during one of the most difficult times of the war. His tenure was marked by invasion, shortages, and political chaos. And at home, tragedy struck. His beloved wife Martha died after giving birth to their sixth child. Her death left Jefferson devastated. He withdrew from public life for a time, traveling to Paris as the U.S. minister to France, seeking both diplomatic success and personal healing. In France, Jefferson found himself surrounded by art, architecture, and new ideas. He became fascinated by European culture and Enlightenment philosophy, which would later shape his vision for America. But he also saw the dangers of inequality and tyranny up close, lessons he would carry back across the Atlantic. Returning home, Jefferson's political career reignited. In 1796, he became vice president under John Adams, but the two were political opposites. Jefferson believed in a government that gave more power to the states, while Adams favored a stronger central authority. Their rivalry marked the early days of America's political divide. In 1801, Thomas Jefferson became the third president of the United States after one of the most intense elections in history. His inauguration was simple: no royal display, no grand procession. He walked to the Capitol, breaking traditions that felt too much like monarchy. Jefferson believed in a wise and frugal government, one that interfered as little as possible in the lives of its citizens. His presidency was marked by one of the greatest real estate deals in history, the Louisiana Purchase. For $15 million, he doubled the size of the United States, securing land that would one day stretch the country from coast to coast. To explore this vast new territory, Jefferson commissioned the famous Lewis and Clark expedition. It was a journey into the unknown, across mountains, rivers, and lands no American had seen. This mission expanded the nation's understanding of its geography, resources, and native cultures. Yet, Jefferson's presidency was not without criticism. His trade embargo with Britain and France hurt American merchants. And while he wrote about liberty and equality, he continued to own enslaved people throughout his life, a contradiction that has sparked debate for centuries. After 2 terms as president, Jefferson retired to his estate, Monticello, where he continued to write, study, and correspond with other leaders. His friendship with John Adams, once his rival, was rekindled through letters. On July 4, 1826, exactly 50 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson passed away. On that same day, just hours later, John Adams also died. It was as if the 2 men who helped shape America had made a silent agreement to leave together. Thomas Jefferson's life was one of vision and complexity, a man of ideals and contradictions, great achievements and human flaws. He believed in the power of the mind, the promise of a free nation, and the importance of passing knowledge to the next generation. He once said, "I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past." Perhaps that's why his influence still lives, in every dream of liberty, and in every nation that dares to imagine a better tomorrow.